Welcome to the Athlete's Guide for creating your own training programs. This video exists for a very specific purpose. If you're watching this and you are highly ambitious, you don't have the privilege of playing on a team that's at a high enough level where the strength and conditioning is provided, and you can't afford to pay for your own coach or your own personalized training, then this might be the exact resource that you need. This is essentially where I was in my athletic journey, where I realized that my athleticism was the thing that I needed to improve to play at the next level, but I had no resources around me, at least accessible to me, to make that for myself. So what I ended up doing was researching and buying programs and trying to make something happen for myself. And essentially the outcome was the programs didn't get me very good results, and it took a long time to get good enough at creating my own programs where I was actually getting meaningful results from them. So now that this is something that I do for a living, I care a lot about giving you, the athlete, the tools to make these results happen for yourself, because not everyone is going to be able to buy my coaching offerings, other coaches' offerings, not have that coach right there with you along your journey. So if this sounds like something that will benefit you, please stay tuned, and I hope you get a lot out of this. We will be going over how to structure a session, which is the order and flow of things. We'll go over the weekly structure and how different sessions will fit together to create a good flow for the week. And then most importantly, we will go over progressions over weeks and months of time, because all programs work until they don't. Once your body adapts to the stress of a certain program, the results will stop showing up or slow down. So we need a plan for how progressions will occur so that the results can continue. At the end of this, my hope, my mission is that you'll be able to create a quality program for yourself, and you'll know how to make long-term progress, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. It's not about jumping higher, running faster in 2 weeks. It's about what kind of athlete are you going to look like 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. That is the number one priority. When we're talking about structuring a program, we can't neglect the warm-up. So to keep this simple, you want to spend 5 to 10 minutes raising your body temperature. This can be done in so many different ways. You can play a game. You can do a variety of movement. I really like a 3D circuit, which essentially is just running forwards, skipping, a karaoke, a shuffle, and a back pedal. So you're moving your body in all three planes of motion. Just something general to get you warm. Then dynamic mobility, which means we're not staying in a stretch for a long period of time, but we're holding a stretch for a couple of seconds and then moving out and repeating that for repetitions. So you can pick a variety of muscle groups that will be necessary in the session coming up and simply knock out a few reps of each. Muscle activation just means waking up and firing the muscles that, again, are going to be key to some things that we're doing. Some common areas you might want to focus on is glutes and hip flexors, core muscles, shoulder, things like that. So just something general like glute bridges and planks and even things like squats and lunges, just to get those muscles firing so that they're ready for what you're going to go into. And then the last step here might be a new word, new phrase. Potentiation simply refers to waking up and firing up the nervous system. So the muscle activation was for the tissues themselves. Now we want to get that neurological firing going. So this is just going to be something very quick and explosive. It could be something like a jump, something where you have to react to someone else, just something that kind of wakes the system up. You're just going to pick one or two things, do a few reps just to get the system activated. There'll be templates included with the full version of this video, where you can easily just put together your own warm-up with tips and a guide and all of that. Okay, with the warm-up out of the way, moving forward. This is the flow of a session. We're going to complete the warm-up, move into our speed and power work, then strength, then hypertrophy, and then conditioning. The reason these things are in this order is because if you moved anything, the thing that you moved forwards would harm something that came after it. So if we did strength before speed and power, the fatigue that would come from the strength would limit our outputs with the speed and power work and harm our results. If we did hypertrophy before strength, we would introduce all this muscular fatigue that would then prevent us from exerting the forces that we want for strength development. Conditioning kind of zaps all of the things before it. So the order of operations here is quite important. And it's not that you need to do all of these things every single day, but they should follow this flow. So if there wasn't going to be any hypertrophy work on that day, you would still just go from strength into conditioning. And I think you get the idea here. With our speed work, there's a ton of different options. Don't think speed just in terms of sprinting. Obviously, sprinting, bounding, things like that are a big part of this. But in the speed bucket, we'll have things like jumps, leaps, hops, for upper body throwing, med ball throws or other things. Anything where you are moving at a high velocity counts in this category. Our guidelines, we need max effort, and the duration of each repetition or each set must be very low. So under 10 seconds or under 5 reps, because once we go past that, our outputs are going to decline, and the name of the game here is high output. If you were going to sprint for 400 meters, you're not going to be sprinting at your top speed. That's just a fact. So we need to keep the distances low, the durations low, things like that. So we're always at our high end of what we can do. And then again, along those same lines, the rest periods need to be very long, because if we carry any fatigue from set 1 into set 2, again, our outputs will be low and we won't be getting what we need. To fill in this part of the program, you're just going to pick 1 to 3 exercises. For our example, because we're going to build out kind of a sample program here, we're going to sprint for 4 sets of 30 meters. And we're going to do a med ball overhead throw for 4 sets of 3. It'll be a superset, so you're going to go from one to the other, rest, and then go back into it. When we transition into power, now I said speed was anything where you're moving something fast. And power on the surface can look identical, because you're going to see a power exercise and you're going to say, yeah, that's moving fast. The difference with power is the load or the setup is designed in such a way where there's more force involved. So we had jumps under the speed category. In power, we could have something like a loaded jump, where it's the same movement, the same intent to move as fast as possible, but there's a little more weight in the equation, which you will feel like you're moving fast, but the load added is just going to slow down your velocities a little bit. Along the same lines, resisted sprints, you can do throws again, just heavier. And if you have any experience with Olympic weightlifting, like hang cleans and things like that, that would also go under this category. Although if it's not something you have experience with, it could take a long time to learn those exercises. It's a big skill all on its own, so it's not something I typically recommend, but that would fall under that category. With our example, we're going to throw in a trap bar jump for 3 sets of 2. And I've given an example weight just to give an idea. 95 pounds will be quite conservative. It'll feel fairly heavy trying to jump with, but it won't drop the loads too much, at least for someone that's got a good base of strength. So this is what we have so far. Our speed and our power stuff is filled in. Our sprint, our throw, supersetted. Once we're done that, moving into the jump. Next, we will be filling in strength. The simplest way you can think of strength is to consider the 6 categories of movements. You can, but we don't necessarily want to think just in terms of muscles. All right, if you want to see the entirety of this video, which will finish going through how to set up a session plan, it'll take you through how to set up a whole week worth of sessions. And most importantly, we'll teach you how to go through long-term progressions to get results over many, many months or years. You're going to want to visit the link below and purchase the full video. That video will also come with a bunch of templates for warm-up creation, session planning, and progressions that will make things super easy for you. So if this is something you feel like you want, you feel like you need to push yourself to the next level, definitely check that out. I've really made it a priority to not make this super expensive. I want this to be very accessible to all of you. So give that a look. Check out the video. I hope it helps.